bell tolls. The midnight hour is upon us. It's time once again for two internet strangers to discuss the good and evil of the horror genre. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the terror within the Hallow-Holics Anonymous podcast.
I know it's difficult to get out of bed after that horrible accident, but you're not paraplegic and you don't need a monkey to do everything for you.
Oh, I know. It has nothing to do with the accident. It's crippling depression.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's okay.
Yeah, but I found this dog the other day on my front porch, and I feel a lot better.
Oh, that's great. You know, it's very heartwarming when you have a dog.
I know. On a completely unrelated note, though, all my neighbors are getting their eyes gouged out.
Huh. Hi, I'm Maddie.
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall.
I get that.
I'm glad. I just watched it earlier today, and I can't stop laughing about it.
You watched the one where it showed every intro?
Yeah, I just wanted to do that. Sorry, everyone.
Was that the poorly placed joke?
It was the poorly placed joke. Okay. I'm Corey.
And this is Hallow-Holics Anonymous,
a show dedicated to all things horror and occasionally Halloween and sometimes really embarrassing and bad meme jokes.
You know, on our last episode, when you said, oh, great, we're back to shitty movies, I thought you were just being you. But, we are back to shitty movies.
No, not only are we back to shitty movies, well, I would call this 1.5 shitty movies because I enjoyed the first half of your movie. But this is another one of those situations where my childhood crushed.
Mm-hmm.
Watchers, I remember seeing this when I was 13 or 14 and thinking it was so cool because Corey Haim was in it, and he had his hair cut.
His hair was so cool, yeah.
I know, and there was an awesome dog and a monster, and I was up late watching it. Yeah, childhood ruined again.
Oh, but we'll get to that.
Right.
Yeah. This episode was supposed to be about evil pets. Honestly, I don't think either of them were truly evil.
No.
It should have been about telepathic pets, yeah.
Well, no, that bird in your movie was kind of a dick.
Okay, true, but that bird wasn't telepathic. I mean, the werewolf in your movie was a dick, too. And by werewolf, I mean Michael Ironsides.
Yeah, I'll give you that. He was the evilest of all the animals, in fact.
Yeah, he was man.
What?
Because man is the greatest evil.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Man is the evilest of all the animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was trying to, we'll get to that when we talk about them. Oh my gosh. Oh, these movies were so terribly underwhelming.
Yeah.
They weren't even upsetting. I'm not even irritated enough about watching them to be angry.
I even tried to the sequel to The Watchers is actually better. I mean, the bar is very, very low. I will touch upon that a little bit, but I didn't actually finish it. This is, I think, the first time that there's been a bunch of movies in a series that I just couldn't get through before the episode.
Yeah, this one has 4 of them?
Yes. Well, 3 and then Watchers Reborn or something.
Well, anyway, and so that's what this week is about. It's about telepathic, evil but not evil pets.
And some horror news. Segue.
He whispers, and then there's a background of Corey's face, facing the side in a sort of half transparent.
That's exactly what I did. I turned my head and said it. That's funny. All right. So, sad news for some, not really for me because I thought it was kind of dumb, but Netflix has canceled Mystery Science Theater 3000. It will not be coming back for a season 3. I tried to watch it. I couldn't get into it. I liked everyone involved. Yeah, but it just wasn't the old stuff. You know what I mean? I'd rather go watch riff tracks.
I felt like the pacing was too quick for the comedy. I think their jokes were too fast. They talked too fast, and it really threw me off.
Yeah, I think that's a product of the time too, and the way comedy is now.
Yeah, and it's a shame because you do need time to think when you hear a joke, you know? Wait
true.
for the beat.
Yeah, one of the creators did say something to the effect of, "This isn't the end, though. It's the quote, it's just the end of the first chapter of bringing back MST3K. I imagine it means we're going to get more riff tracks or whatever that other thing, Cinematic Titanic was, that stuff.
I guess I'm one of those horrible fans who get stuck with one person and I only like them in a role. And frankly, I didn't like Joel. I liked Mike. Mike was my favorite, and not having MST3K with Mike was very sad for me.
Which one was first?
Joel.
Okay,
anyway, yeah, I didn't like Joel.
Yeah, me either. And the new guy was just awful. I think the actor's name is Jonah Ray Rodriguez, and he may have tweeted the most passive-aggressively irritating tweet I have ever read in my life. It's so annoying. I'm going to read it all to you now. So, Netflix decided not to do another season of MST3K. We are off to get down in Lilyhammer while the OA helps us take it one day at a time. We will be in group therapy with Tuca and Birdie, Jessica Jones, and Lady Dynamite. The sessions will be run by Gypsy with Naomi Watts' thread. So annoying. So he's basically like, oh, we got canceled and all these other shows got canceled. Boo-hoo, it's not fair. Hey, make a good show if you don't want to get canceled.
I know my mom and brother seem to like the new one, but yeah, the comedy didn't feel like it was in the same vein, and I don't know, Joe Bob Briggs, his comeback was so much better because he was still Joe Bob Briggs, you know?
Right. I mean, his comeback was so good, he managed to
get a consistent show out of it. He managed to crash
not only
Shudder.
That, but that, and he managed to skirt cancel culture, you know what I mean? He said some questionable stuff. I think it was maybe racist or something.
He's Southern.
That's
as
not really
Texan.
the best. Yeah, as a Southerner, maybe you don't want to make that excuse.
You just think we're racist when we're talking.
Makes sense too. I do. I believe all of you are very racist.
He mostly bitches about subways.
Oh, well, subways do suck. All right, so my next piece of news is the video game Last Year the Nightmare. Do you know anything about this, Maddie? The game?
Why would you ask me that?
Well, it's along the same lines of Friday the 13th, and I know that you've played that a few times. It's another asymmetric horror game.
I played it one time, and I didn't know how to play, and I was immediately Jason, and I didn't know how to move, so I just exited the game.
Yeah, that gives me anxiety playing as Jason. I'm really bad at the game, too, so that doesn't help. All right, so a real quick history lesson. About almost exactly a year ago, last December, Last Year the Nightmare was released on Discord, when Discord was briefly trying to be another video game distributor like Steam and like Epic is doing, and GOG. So there was all this hype about it. I think there was there might have been, there's always a Patreon. There was probably a Patreon. So it was released, but it was super bare bones. So you play 5 high school students in a slasher movie, basically. There's like a janitor killer, like some other, I don't even remember the killers. That's how forgettable this game was. So the developers released it and then went radio silent almost immediately. Because it was December, they went on vacation, so no bugs were getting fixed. Nobody knew what was going on. The Discord got really, really weird, and I was witnessing a lot of this, but not totally paying attention because I'm on their Discord. People were being silenced for speaking up against the game, like all this crazy stuff. Like the word "shill" was being shouted at people. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Gamers are such whiny babies.
As a gamer, we really are. So everything that could go wrong with this game did. There was no progression. There was no fun. It pretty much died out in like a month. Nobody was playing it except a few streamers and a couple of diehards. Fast forward to, I don't even know when this happened, a month or 2 months, a few months ago, Discord decides they're not going to distribute games because Epic is getting all the games, Steam's getting all the games, so they're not making any money. So they kill their distribution. So now you can't get this game anymore, right? It's just gone. So the players are even more pissed off because nobody can buy the game that nobody's playing that requires people to play because it's an asymmetrical horror game. We knew eventually it was coming to Steam, and it turns out it's coming to Steam December 10th. They're adding a new killer, supposedly a progression system, and like emotes and all this other stuff you can earn in game. So it might pull off a No Man's Sky thing and have like a second life when it gets to Steam if they really did fix it. Personally, I'm not going to buy it yet, even though I like these games, this type of game. I don't want to buy it until I know there's like actual meat to the content. I just think it's interesting now how games like these can do so poorly, but then sort of like rise from their own ashes. Yeah, and hopefully that'll happen with this game, because it really is a cool idea. Like you're running around in a high school, you're basically playing all the characters in your favorite B horror movie.
So, do you ever get groups of games monthly for a horror theme?
No, I tend to stick with crappy DVDs or crappy Blu-rays.
Oh.
I'm going to start this horror pack segment by saying I could be wrong. I have only seen one of these movies, and I know that it's crap. The other three look probably like they're crap, but I don't know because I haven't seen them, so I'm going to reserve judgment. I think what I'm going to try to do is at least skim all of these, the three I haven't seen, for the next episode. Well, maybe not, since we're recording that tomorrow. Maybe I will skim them all for the episode after that and tell you what I think. But it's so disappointing. All right, first up, I don't even know what order to put these in. That's how like no-namey any of these movies are. First up is Dolph Lundgren in Shark Lake. Now, I love Dolph Lundgren. I don't like a lot of his choices, though, and I don't think I'm going to like this one.
That's how I feel about a lot of the actors, the character actors we tend to love in our obscure movie choices.
Yeah, this is probably going to be terrible. In this lake, you have to fight to survive. Action legend? No.
Is that it?
Action legend Dolph Lundgren goes head-to-head with a bloodthirsty shark that has a resort town under siege. This sounds familiar. As bodies wash up on the lake's shore, that sounds familiar too, only an ocean. An ex-con, played by Lundgren, must take matters into his own hands to protect his daughter and bury his past once and for all. So there's a shark in the lake, and Dolph Lundgren did something bad.
I'd like to think of this as more of a Rocky scenario, where the shark is like that angry cop who like attacked Rocky for no reason, and he tracks him through the woods. Quick interruption, guys. I just realized I actually meant Rambo, not Rocky. Sorry about that.
I'm actually hoping it's something like that, too. I'm hoping it's a mixture of all the Jawses, where, like, the first one is good, but the rest of them are, like, this weird, like, the shark's got a grudge against people, and it's, maybe that's what it is. Dolph Lundgren wronged the shark at some point. All right, next up, we have the Horror Pack Limited Edition Blu-ray, Echoes of Fear. The scariest movie we've ever screened, according to Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival.
Now, to be fair, that's a My Little Pony film festival.
I wish that was true. Alyssa inherits her grandfather's house following his sudden death from an apparent heart attack. She couldn't keep the house, so she travels there to prepare it for sale. When she's packing away her grandfather's belongings, strange and unexplained events inside the house start to spook her, and she soon comes to the conclusion that she is not alone there. Even her...
Sounds
exactly like house. Even her pet mouse... That's a real sentence I just read. Even her pet mouse senses a presence.
I like to imagine
I
it's a
hope
Muppet
it's a
Mouse.
Muppet Mouse. We won't be that lucky. Something supernatural lurks in the house, and Alyssa begins to believe that her grandfather was trying to find something before he died. When her friend Steph arrives, they attempt to solve the mystery, and together they uncover forces that seem to confront...
Sounds exactly like House.
Something about diabolical truth and the evil that lives inside the house. Yeah, this is House. This is just House with girls. I wonder if she's going to be like a Desert Storm. No, she's too young. Yeah, she's not in the military. All right, that's number 2. Number 3 is like the closest thing to interesting. It's called Thale. It's from Scream.
Oh, that's Tala. That's a really good movie. I've been talking about us watching that. That's a fantastic
like some chick with
movie.
A tail.
No, yeah, it's a dark fairy tale.
Literally, she's got a dark colored fairy.
It's that Swedish movie I was bringing up where that woman is tortured in the bathtub.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah, that
dope.
one is a great movie.
Okay. Horror Pack's still worth it, guys. Until I decide I hate this movie, which I probably won't. A rare thing at times, haunting, atmospheric, hilarious, violent, and wholly beautiful. 2 crime scene cleaners discover a mythical tailed female creature in a concealed cellar. She never utters a word, unable to tell her story, but the pieces of the puzzle soon come together. She's been held captive for decades for reasons soon to suffice. Hailed by critics at film festivals around the world, Tale is an unearthed treasure that should not be missed. In my defense, the box art is bad. Like, it's like her sitting next to a mushroom with some, like, skinny goblin-y things, and yeah. But if you say so, I said the same thing about Resolution, and you proved me wrong there. So, all right, and finally, like, if you guys are listening to this, all that I have to do is say the title, and you know it's terrible. Exorcist II: The Heretic.
Oh.
So the reason I now own this, I'm sure, is because there is a surplus in a warehouse somewhere that Horror Pack just bought up and was like, well, just give these to those rubes. Give them all the Exorcist 2, The Heretic.
But
Exorcist 3 is my favorite. I love Exorcist 3, mostly because that's like the best Brad Dourif role ever. Yeah, Brad he's Dourif great in that. And it's got, who's the old detective guy, famous actor? Scrooge.
Oh,
yeah, George C. Scott has the greatest monologue ever when he's talking to that whole, like, I believe in murder. I believe in pain. Oh.
I swear, yeah, people cast him for his amazing monologue.
But that one in particular, like, there's been at least 2 different bands I was in, and I've sampled that entire monologue, and I will do it again on my personal stuff someday. It's that good. And I'm not the only one. Like, every doom metal industrial band, like goth band, has used this quote at some point because it's so amazing. So yeah, there's Horror Pack. Maddie saved it from being terrible, hopefully.
Yeah, no, it's a great movie. It's of the last few years, it was probably one of my favorite movies I hadn't heard of that I watched on a whim.
Is it dubbed or
someone.
subtitled or anything?
I don't like to watch movies in dub.
No, I don't either, unless I've seen it before and I want to, this is so nerdy, unless I've seen it before and I want to see how close the dub is to the subtitles.
Yeah, there's only a few movies that I think are better in dubbed format. That's Chinese comedies. Some of them, like the older ones. Modern ones are better in the original language, like, well, at least in Mandarin. And, Night of the Living Dorks was better dubbed than with subtitles because the actors didn't have very emotional voices, even though they had emotional, like, physical.
Yeah, what
gestures.
was that? There was I think it was Cantonese, sort of Dawn of the Dead influenced movie. Oh, I can't remember what it was called, but it was so good. And that's another really good example of, like, the comedy didn't actually work if you listen to the dub. You know, you had to, like, listen to the delivery in Cantonese and then read it.
Yeah, the emotion is important, you know?
Oh, I can't remember what that movie was called. It's so good, though. It's like one of the few redeeming zombie movies. It also came out before the oversaturation. It was right at the beginning of, like mid-late 90s.
Honestly, I think that's why Italian comedies got better in, like, the 80s, because they were straying away from all the dubbing that they'd been doing for decades.
Oh, Italian.
That's over-analysis, but I really like Italian comedy.
Well, I like a lot of
80s.
Italian horror, and the dubbing was always terrible. Even when it was in English, the dubbing was terrible.
I mean, Suspiria is a beautiful film, but the dubbing is bad. Because it doesn't match the... It doesn't match the audio around it. I think that's the problem. It's like the voices are too loud or too sharp and clear and too different from the actors.
Phenomena had the same problem because like part of the cast is speaking English and the other part is speaking Italian. And they're just kind of waiting for each other to stop to say their lines. And there's no real good way to match that, you know?
Yeah. But that's the whole film culture. That's a whole history lesson right there. That's just how their industry
That's not
developed.
totally true. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly did the same thing. It was an English-Italian production, and they got that dubbing pretty well.
Is that Sergio Leone? Yeah, well, that's because that's
point.
Sergio Leone. Anything else to say about Horror Pack? Well, you know what, Corey? Just in case you wanted the Ultimate Edition, Scream Factory has released Monkey Shines on Blu-ray, and apparently it's a really good restoration.
I kind of want to see that just to see what they have to say for themselves.
A man trapped by his own body.
To Alan,
I really respect what Scream
I do
Factory
too.
does.
I do too. They take a lot of chances.
Exclusively for quadriplegics?
They're the
How about if I
Criterion
donate a
spooky.
monkey?
she hasn't been exposed to anything weird in the lab.
No.
An animal trained to follow commands.
How am I supposed to
I know,
take
that
care of
monkey's
it?
so cute.
The idea is that it's going to take care of you.
I know.
She's unbelievable. She's like a miniature person.
Get rid of that bird or so.
Well, Maddie's just
bird.
making sounds
With
every
the
time the
mind
monkey's
for
on
revenge.
screen, guys, just so you know.
And the most
That's a cute monkey.
I made up a formulation based on human memory cells I've been injecting one of the monkeys.
Not him.
I'm making noises when there are no monkeys on the screen.
I don't like this change in you, Alan.
The other with the instinct to kill.
What the hell are you doing to her?
Ella is getting out of the house, and I'm getting out with her. You do know that that's impossible.
Man is the only animal capable of murder.
Ella, no!
Until now.
She did it for me. Did it because I
Makes
wanted
this
it
movie
done.
look more like a horror movie than an
Stop it!
From the director of Night of the Living Dead, George A. Romero, the master of terror and suspense.
You're not gonna hurt
Well,
me.
Master is... Look,
Monkey
come on,
Shines
guys, chill out here.
into terror.
The title itself sort of explains what the movie's going to be, but start your thing and I will explain that later. I don't want to ruin your thunder.
This is the wildly seductive and dangerous tale of the forbidden love of a monkey for her man. What begins as a simple nursing job turns into so much more for these two, until push comes to shove, and passion turns into murder.
Okay, now we've gone from horror movie to Lifetime original film based on that summary to what I think is a comedy the entire way through.
The trailer already told you guys it was written and directed by George Romero. I mean, it's not his worst movie. That's one thing I'll give it, because it's not his best
It's
at
no
all.
Knight Riders.
But it is more watchable. You mean the motorcyclist retelling of the King
Yep.
Arthur legends? But it's much more watchable than Martin.
Yeah, Martin's pretty slow. This is a lot more watchable than Martin. I don't hate Martin as much as
Yeah,
you,
probably,
but
yeah.
I will agree it's not great.
Yeah, I only hate Martin because I expected it to be so much better based on the trailer.
You know, maybe I only like Martin because I saw it when I was like 19 years old and like a fan of film. It was before I realized pretension is
Stupid.
Well, rewatch it now and you'll realize it's just bad.
Yeah, I think I'll have to.
But Monkey Shines might have been just as boring because the original cut, George Romero's original cut of Monkey Shines, was 3 to 4 hours long before the studios were like,
Sweet
nope.
holy God. Wait, did he film? Like, he cut a 3-hour version of this?
Yes. And Orion was like, no. And they cut it down to 2.5 hours, right?
It's
2
definitely,
hours?
I mean, I can check for you, but I'm pretty sure it's coming in under 2 hours.
Yeah, and every other review I've read about this, and usually when people hear about cuts of movies, they get really upset that it was cut down so much and it would have been a different film, but pretty much everyone's overwhelming response to that was like, they could have cut it even more, honestly.
Mm-hmm. That's actually the same with mine, too. There is so much fluff in both of these movies.
Would you like to tell our listeners what the full title of this film is?
Monkey Shines?
An experiment.
Oh, I couldn't read
in
it
fear.
because my glasses are broken. I don't know why I couldn't read that. Oh, because it's super tiny on screen. And I'm also trying to see how long it is without actually queuing it up, but I think I have to because that's going to bug me.
Yeah.
Monkey Shines is
It's
an
also-
hour and 53 minutes long.
Jesus Christ, so long. That's why I didn't get to both of the movies in the same day. I was like,
Yeah,
there's no way.
it's
There's no
easier to
way.
fit in 2 hour-and-a-half movies than it is a 2 and an hour-and-a-half. I agree.
Yeah. This was Romero's first experience working with a studio production company. So usually he did like more independent kind of stuff before this, but I'm just not sure. I think it was an adaptation of a novel by Michael Stewart, who's actually, if you follow his career, he was pretty interesting because he was not only a writer, but he also did production work. He worked in construction, engineering, and then he wrote this kind of novel. And like, it's difficult if you don't appreciate book adaptations to film. Like if you aren't already familiar with them, I guess it would be really difficult to adapt a book to film and be able to make the decision, okay, these are the unnecessary chapters, so this story can be a reasonable length. It doesn't feel like he probably cut any chapters.
Oh, I mean, in the original cut, if it's that long, I'm sure he tried to stay as faithful to the book as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Awkward.
You
No.
don't have anything to say? I was waiting for you to
I
put
was.
some input
That
in
was just
before
one
I
of those
moved
weird
on.
moments where I thought you were going to continue.
Yeah.
So
It wasn't awkward until you said awkward.
this is another one of those movies that I saw when I was a kid. This isn't a childhood ruining thing. This is more, I didn't really care when I watched it. It was okay. I thought it was funny then, and I still think it's funny. The first half of this movie is just a zany comedy about a disabled dude and his monkey. Yeah.
And it was charming. Yeah. When the monkey hugged him. Oh.
Everything the monkey does is either super cute, super amazing, or both. Like, I mean, they're using a real monkey to do most of this stuff. I think that's awesome, but like everything points to comedy except for the whole paralyzing part.
Well, they were crazy about monkeys
Oh, they
in the
sure
80s
were.
too.
Clint Eastwood did a monkey movie. Baboon movie, excuse me. No, chimpanzee movie.
One of your favorite actors in the 90s did a monkey movie. Mr. Cemetery Man.
Oh, that's
Dunstan
right.
checks in. One
For
of
a
the
long
greatest. If you had to put,
Dunstan checks
yeah.
in, and Cemetery Man and Bee Monkey were the only 3 movies I would admit Rupert Everett was in. Yeah,
Oh, really? Well, what about The Importance of Being
it
Earnest?
is
That's a
if you're
great movie.
boring. But there was another.
It is if you like intelligent comedy.
There was another movie he did that was absolutely terrible, but I can't remember it. And it was one of his romantic comedies.
Inspector
Well, yeah,
Gadget?
of course,
Oh,
that was
okay.
terrible.
Listen, on the scale of monkey movies, if you had to say one of them was worthy of an award, Dunstan Checks In is up at the top. And I've
Dunstan
watched
Checks
lot
In
of
is a
monkey
great
movies.
movie. I'm not knocking Dunstan Checks In at all. I'm just knocking a lot of Rupert Everett's other catalog. But
Oh, okay, yeah. Rupert Everett made some
back to
bad
my
choices.
point. So this movie starts out and spends a lot of time in the realm of comedy, aside from the dude getting paralyzed at the beginning, which I've got issues with that we'll talk about in a minute too.
Oh boy.
But it doesn't really stop like it's a comedy, and then it becomes a horror movie when the monkey starts killing shit, but it doesn't change the music. You know, and I don't think it's doing this on purpose, and I think that's why it's so bad.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh,
it's
the
not
music.
trying to do the Japanese thing where, like, we want to play the music that makes you feel the opposite of what's happening on screen to make you more uncomfortable. The music just
It's just we don't feel like getting
right.
new
So the
songs.
music doesn't fit the second half of the movie, and it's the movie. So it's really jarring for me to like hear this like goofy monkey music while like people are getting like shocked in the bathtub and cut up with some kind of pizza cutters and injected with lots of like monkey heroin. Like,
Now I'm just imagining when he's trying to get like out of the house and the monkey turns off the electricity and everything and he gets stuck. Like I've got my mind set on you playing.
All right, so let's rewind back to the beginning of the movie and let's talk a second about everything.
We open on Linda and Alan's asses.
We open on a bunch of naked people. Well, 2 naked people. An acceptable amount of naked people.
2 naked, beautiful people that nobody will ever
Not that I'm
look
king
like.
shaming. You can be in the room with as many naked people as you want. I don't care. But 2 is enough for this scene. So then we get into naked stretching, which Maddie and I talked to briefly yesterday, or talked about yesterday when we weren't recording.
Yeah.
I don't think he just did naked stretching. I'm pretty sure that he started his workout routine with some like jumping jacks and push-ups. So I like all that I can think about when he's stretching is his wiener just flopping about down there.
Okay, well, let's think about this logically. This man is a law student in the late 80s, so he probably would have lived through the whole free love thing, maybe?
If it's what? He would have been in high school in the 70s. It's more like disco.
Naked.
See, he would have been
naked disco.
He would have been the kids in high school that freaks and geeks made fun of. Like, I think it's that time period.
You think he would have been a total
for sure. Although he's got the drug addict friend, so maybe he started to do some experimenting in college. I don't know.
It was a weird choice. I feel like Romero was trying to tell us something, but I'm not sure.
Speaking of weird choices, then the dude puts his clothes on and loads up a backpack with bricks and goes out for a jog. I get it. Adding weight is going to add muscle, you're going to get more cardio out of it, that kind of stuff. But bricks in a backpack, that would just bounce, even though like I checked and he had a waist strap on, but still that much weight in a backpack would still be bouncing up against your lower back. It would hurt so bad. I mean, unless you get paralyzed by a truck and can't feel it anymore. But by that point, the bricks were all thrown about all over the road, so it didn't matter.
Oh, and okay, well, when the truck hit him and the bricks flew, he did this weird ballet spin in the air.
It was very graceful. It was just him doing this this Russian ballet thing surrounded by bricks. That was ridiculous.
Again, another weird choice.
And then all of a sudden, he's sad, can't move, has a beard.
And he has a beard. His depression is completely understandable, but let's think about this for a minute. This guy doesn't really seem to appreciate that he has more resources than any other paraplegic victim. I mean, his appliances and doors and window shades have voice commands.
In the 8.
That's more than a lot of people. Yeah. And he has, even though she's kind of a bitch, he does have a live-in nurse.
Yeah, his mom must be his mom is so rich that she basically invented Amazon Alexa for her paralyzed son, or hired somebody to do it. And a live-in, like a literal live-in nurse. Like she had a room and got to keep her asshole bird there and everything.
Mm-hmm. He was mean to his mom. I'm sorry. She did a lot for him. Maybe she had control issues, but he was real
mean to everybody
her.
except for the monkey trainer.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And his junkie friend. He wasn't really mean to the junkie scientist, was he? I mean, he yelled at him once.
Jeffrey.
But...
Jeffrey was a horrible, abusive drug addict, but he was also my favorite character next
mine
to
too.
the monkey.
Although we do get a young Stanley Tucci as well, and I always like Stanley Tucci.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but I thought what was funny is that, John Pankow, who played Jeffrey, could be easily interchangeable with Stanley Tucci. Stanley Tucci could have played Jeffrey, and John could have played the Doctor, and would it have made a big difference? Yeah, they both have the exact same style.
I didn't even think of that.
When the movie started, Yeah, when the movie started, I looked at him and I was like, huh, that looks like Stanley Tucci. No, that's not Stanley Tucci. That's Stanley Tucci.
Yeah, and they both either play good-natured people or people who will steal your wives and girlfriends.
Yes, which, wow, that was a side plot that wasn't absolutely necessary, except for the
Yeah, I
killing
think they
element,
needed that. Like that's just a way to get the monkey to become an arsonist. Which is another sentence I never thought I'd say.
They could have cut out Jeffrey's boss, since the one scene that made him important was removed from the film. Even though I like the actor, Stigler.
Yeah.
But there's the original ending of the film had those animal rights activists coming to the lab again, and the boss is there, and he tells them to go away, and they attack him. And then he goes back inside, and you find out after he had injected all the other monkeys that all the monkeys in the building were mentally in control of him now.
That was
the original ending to the film. Yeah, well, but they cut that because audience reaction was poor, and they made the ending a little bit happier.
Who cares about the audience? That annoys me.
Well, the way they steer the film, it just doesn't seem like it should have had
definitely
a happy
not.
ending.
And that whole... I get it. Medical science is difficult, especially when you get into things like the brain and the spine and all that. But making the paralyzing incident not the car crash is a ridiculous choice. Like, I understand that there are genetic conditions that can paralyze you just like that, but why make him get hit by a car? Why even create that mystery? It's not necessary. I get it. It's dramatic, and ballet flips and bricks flying all over the place looks okay on film, but it felt contrived.
I guess it was... Well, I think that probably came from the novel, and I think that was a reason to just make him righteously angry at his first surgeon, other than the fact that, he took his girl. Which, wow, talk about violating, ethics that right there. I'm sure there's got to be a rule about that somewhere in the code.
They so heavy-handedly hint at the fact that, those two were, hooking up while he was recovering, too. That whole, looks being traded at his welcome home party and stuff. Yeah, they really made Stanley Tucci a terrible person in this. I guess they just didn't want to kill any good people. I don't know.
I think also Alan switched from loving the monkey to hating her too fast, to immediately understanding telepathy too fast. And I think that's what they should have focused more on throughout the story, and made it more of a gradual understanding that Ella was a psychopathic monkey, and maybe not had him have those dumb visions.
Yeah, I agree.
Night,
I think it should have been a more gradual, downhill slope rather than such a, sharp cliff where all of a sudden dude has monkey teeth. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at the end of the day, I really didn't feel like the monkey was evil. I thought she was just animal instinct. I thought the monkey loved him, basically, and felt like she was above him in the alpha in the pecking order. She was just acting how a super intelligent monkey probably would act. So, in a way, I don't think she deserved what happened to her.
I agree with you completely. This is one of the rare occasions where we both agree about the protagonist or the antagonist in a film being the good guy. But yeah, you pull this monkey out of the wild, shoot it up with its brain serum that, made literally out of shaven human brains. It was like an Italian ice of brains in a syringe. You see him scraping brain off. You give him all this intelligence, and you don't take away any of his wildness. You know what I mean? So he's still, he's running on instinct. And this is animals kill when they're angry, when they're afraid. And these were all things this poor monkey was feeling. Yeah, it's totally not the monkey's fault.
Yeah, and at the end, she still loved Alan. She walked up to him to try to hug him.
And he bit her to death.
Should've done that. Yes.
Man is truly the worst animal, Maddie. You're right.
Truly.
I completely forgot that's how the monkey died. He just went bulldog on her.
Ape shit.
Oh.
I think one of the most upsetting moments in the film for me, though, was when Jeffrey was injecting her with that fluid in the kitchen, and she just, fucking flipped. You could actually see distress in that monkey's face as it was just slamming that cutter or something?
It looks like some sort of fancy, vegetable slicer. That's, I think I referred to it as a pizza cutter earlier. That scene, that was actually a pretty tense scene. That's one of the only scenes where I was like, oh, I thought for sure I remembered him getting his fingers cut off the first time I saw it. But that may be the only part of the movie that I felt any tension in whatsoever.
I mean, if you want some really good movies where someone is disabled in some way and terrorized or something upsetting happens and the tension is built fantastically, either watch Wait Until Dark, which is about a blind woman being terrorized by a man breaking into her home who's going to kill her. I believe that's the main plot. Or Julia's Eyes, which was a Spanish movie that came out a few years ago, which is also pretty upsetting. Because those two movies about disabilities, both blind women, were much more effective with tension building.
I don't think I've seen either of those. There's one other really good
they're fantastic.
movie involving a blind woman. It was also a play, but I can't remember what it's called.
The nurse and mom were especially over the top in this one.
Yeah. Again, if you want me to feel anything about a character you're killing off, which all movies want you to feel, like that's the point, don't make them so terrible. Make them at least slightly redeeming. Give the mom a moment where she's like alone weeping in the mirror about how sad she is for her son. Don't just make her a bitch for an hour and a half.
Yeah, or at least like after he had that explosion, not slapping him over and over again and like
that's
walking
right.
away.
I completely forgot about that.
Quietly. Yeah, just quietly telling him that, she forgives him or something along that. She could have had a great moment for a good speech that would have made him feel like shit.
Smacking a person with a disability is not the way to get me to feel bad for your death.
No.
The nurse, too. The minute she walked in there, she's just all rolling her eyes and shaking her head. Like, there was no kindness. Like, I guarantee you, if she didn't get killed... Wait, did she die in this movie?
No,
never mind. In that
quit.
case, she's still out there murdering people in hospitals, I bet now. Like, that's the kind of woman she was.
Well, even when she was nice when they first met, she was very
that's what I'm saying. Like, as soon as she walked into that house, she was a dick.
He didn't need a damn sippy cup.
And I understand to a point why they made her that way. They wanted the girlfriend to realize the weight of what she had to take on, with like, they wanted to add to that plot point, and it was just dumb.
I didn't sympathize with the girlfriend. I'm sorry. People who are afraid of sickness, who refuse to go to the hospital when someone they apparently love is either dying or horribly injured, I don't sympathize with that feeling. I don't. I think you need to overcome that fear.
I agree. If it's somebody you give a shit about, you're there. Unless you're like 4 states over or something, you're there.
Yeah. So we don't really know much about her character or his background because we only get that one perfect day at the very beginning before the crash. So we have no way of knowing if there was anything behind their relationship to sympathize.
Yeah, as far as we know, they
them.
met the night before.
Yeah. And that's all I have to say about Monkey Shines. I really didn't think I had much to say about it, so I'm kind of proud of myself.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I've definitely got nothing more to say about this movie.
In fact, I probably have even less to say about our next
that's okay,
movie.
because I have a bunch.
Known that Vanadine has conducted classified biological research for the National Security Organization. Any reason for
Vanadine makes a comeback in this
missiles,
None whatsoever. Although the research animals which were kept
used to
have
blow
been
shit up.
destroyed, absolutely no toxic elements have been released.
Who escaped?
GH3. The dog.
And one of the Oxcom.
Are the Oxcom and the dog still
This movie
telepathically
has some
linked?
weird
On a
audio.
biofrequency that only the Oxcom can receive.
Travis Cornell made a new friend today.
You know that like somebody created
And
the
it may just
monster
cost him his
and
life.
was super proud of it, and then the director saw it and was like, no, we're never showing this thing.
The dog was like a homing
Like they barely show it. Like you see the
Search and
face at the
destroy.
end of it.
You know what
Yeah.
happened to Tracy's
It's
dog?
like all silhouette.
You see it a lot in the sequel, and it's stupid.
Travis, is that you?
Can't you control it? It's got to be stopped. GH3? They're called your
Making this
research
movie look
animal.
like more intense.
Yeah,
way
it really
more
does.
intense.
Smart.
They're playing this song when you know it was that damn cheesy Lifetime movie song whenever the damn dog was on
that dog
screen.
is awesome. Though.
It's up to you, isn't it? I stay. You die.
Oh, I forgot about the Scrabble
I
files.
say we make
I
a
didn't take
stand
note.
right here, right now.
Oh gosh. This movie is nowhere near as dramatic as this trailer makes it. Like, not at all. I'm like, is that the same movie I just watched?
Oh, man. All right, let's do this.
Let's do this. Take a shot.
Right when this movie opens, you see this dog escaping, and the lab's on fire, and you see just how bad this monster is going to look because they don't show anything other than silhouette. And anytime they don't show off their effects, it's because they're embarrassed about it. So yeah, this is what we get at the beginning. We get a burning lab, an escaping dog, a crappy monster, and then we meet Michael Ironside on a boat with some dude.
Which, yeah, that makes sense. 1988. Yeah. That's usually how
they
action
meet on
movies
boats.
Yeah, bad guy talks to a big bad guy.
I don't really remember who he must have been, like the CEO of Anodyne or whatever, but Ironsides is the guy you hire when you got to get stuff done is basically the whole point to that scene.
Or so it seems.
Or so it seems. Then we go back. The dog is run into a barn, which turns out to have Corey Haim trying to hook up with his girlfriend. But
yep, that barn.
Yes, that is definitely his sex dungeon.
He ties her up, throws her onto a hay bale, apologizes.
Gets all handsy. So yeah, they think the dog is the dad, so he takes off just in time because the dad actually does show up. This, of course, means the dad gets killed, and we find out later that the girl gets kidnapped for a reason I will get into in a moment. So the dog hitches a ride home with Corey Haim's character. And I don't remember any characters' names in this except for the dog. I know the dog's called Furface. So
the trailer said his name, but I already forgot it. Like Cornell something
I don't
Cornell.
remember. The only two people I reference in my notes are Ironside and Haim, and that's all I call them the whole way through.
I remember one kid's nickname was
I
Piggy.
do. I mentioned Piggy later, too. Yeah. So the local sheriff shows up to this barn murder, and I'm sorry, the girl wasn't kidnapped yet. She was hurt in the monster battle, and she's like trying to recover over by the ambulance, like they always do in these movies. And the sheriff's trying to like investigate and figure out what's going on. And then Ironsides and his partner, I don't know, I guess they've been working together for a while.
Blue Man Kuma when he was super
Did
young.
you get the sense that they had been working together for a while, or No, I think they were just kind of assigned together for this.
I think they were just assigned because there didn't seem to be much of a bond. But then again, knowing Michael Ironside's character,
he doesn't bond with people.
No.
So the dog hitches a ride with Corey Haim, and then we cut back to the sheriff being untrusting of Ironsides because
being a paranoid small
which he should be because Ironsides is just oozing evil the entire time he does anything in this movie.
But to be fair, even when he's the good guy, he kind of oozes evil. So I don't trust you. You're Michael Ironsides.
Yeah, and then nothing happens for a while, and we all go to bed. Like there's big swaths of this movie where nothing occurs except filler, and this is one of them. It's just a scene of like him telling the dog to sleep in the garage.
Yeah, it's like an after-school special without any drugs or bad kids.
I'm sorry, say that again?
It's like an after-school special without any drugs
Well, there
or
are
bad kids. Well, they're not really bad kids. They're just bad friends.
No, because the whole reason... Well, we'll get to that. So then Haim and his mom go to try to visit his girlfriend in the hospital, but these government dudes won't let him in. So Corey Haim doesn't trust them, even though like he has this weird line later on where he's like, of course we can do, they're the government, they're the good guys, but he obviously doesn't trust these two because he knows something up because they won't let him see his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. We cut to this shady talk they have about like the lab fire and who started it. I don't think it ever actually says who starts it, right?
I don't think so, but
I'm leaning towards Ironside started it.
Yeah, another little side remark I'd like to say is I think everyone just probably read the synopsis of the script and then agreed to do the film before actually reading the script. There's no way you could have read the script and thought this was going to be a good film.
I mean, Ironsides isn't really known for picking He's done a lot of crap.
But he's done some awesome stuff, too. Let's be fair. He's Michael Ironsides. He can bring charisma to any role.
Did you see Space Hunter and the Adventures in the Forbidden Zone?
Yes, we did
that's right, we did. I forgot. Anyway, he's great in that.
Yeah, he was great. The makeup was so cool.
All right, so now it's the next morning, I think. I'm not sure. It is, yes. Corey Haim, his mom catches him with the dog. And Corey Haim's like, no, Mom, we can keep this dog. Look how smart he is. Go to the fridge and get a hot dog. And this is what I love about these movies. This is what I love about movies that use actual trained animals, because this dog actually had to run downstairs, open the fridge, grab the hot dogs, give them to them. You know, like they actually trained a dog to do this stuff. I think that's cool.
Well, the monkey was pretty well trained.
Oh, very
Monkey
well
Shines
trained,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, which is surprising because capuchin monkeys are notoriously difficult.
I didn't know that. So then he goes and gives the dog a shower, or a bath. I'm picturing him in the shower. That's a whole different movie. Yeah.
Yeah, please don't.
This is where we learn about Corey Haim's deadbeat dad, who is in Vietnam in Delta Force or something. So this is sort of hinting at why Corey Haim can do what he can do later on. He also discovers the dog's research animal status. Through his ear tattoo. Sorry, my handwriting is atrocious.
No, the 80s hairstyles are very strong.
I used to have this theory.
Especially one of the
I used to have this theory that the spikier Corey Haim's hair was, the better the movie was. This broke that theory.
That's just because you love Dream a Little Dream.
I love it very much. So we learn now in another random conversation between Michael Ironsides and his partner that this monster hates dogs and loves removing eyes. And we find out that there is a mysterious third experiment out there.
Yeah.
Yes.
What a twist.
But we'll come back to that because now we get the dog taking a really bad IQ test, which just involves them asking like ridiculous questions after the dog goes and unplugs the phone because he doesn't want to be reported missing. Like the dog's obviously smart. Plus I've got a problem with this too because, okay, Corey Haim holds up the TV guide and is like, who's this? Is it Ulysses S. Grant? Is it George Washington or whatever? And the dog's like, no, it's Lincoln, through barking. What if?
Yeah, that's a little.
It's what?
That's a little stupid. It's like, well, what if he's really good at math?
No,
but he
that's
doesn't
exactly
know
where I'm going. Like, what if this dog just hadn't gotten to that point in his history lessons yet? You know what I mean? He knew every other president except Lincoln. We wouldn't know the dog is smart based on that test. We know the dog is smart because it goes and unplugs the damn phone. We already know this, so we don't need to know that the dog knows who Lincoln is.
Yeah, well, it is if that's the only plot hole in this movie, I think they did a pretty good job.
Anyway, a homeless man gets murdered. #van life.
And then?
I was holding for laughter and applause because I thought that joke was hilarious, even though I'm the only one watching videos about van life lately.
No, our fives of listeners at this point are probably just standing
I accepted
ovation.
the fact that they'll hate it too when I wrote it. That was for me.
I zoned out so many times watching this movie.
Oh God, so did I. That's why my notes are so disjointed and all over the place. That's why I actually have notes, because I had to put my thoughts somewhere. The dog's name's Furface. It follows him to school on the way, but we don't know that yet. So forget I said that. This is where we meet Jason Priestley from 90210 as an actual child. He's 15 in this. We get a brief talk about hey, well, we're high school. It's blah, 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 blah. We're going to go mess with the old man who just got murdered. They don't know he got murdered yet. They're riding their bikes out there.
Yeah, he's like, no, guys, I don't want to be in a Stephen King story tonight.
Exactly. And this is basically just an excuse to get the kids into the woods for a little bit later.
Mm-hmm. If there had been 4 of them, maybe things would have turned out different.
Maybe.
For Piggy.
Maybe. I mean, the whole thing is you just have to be faster than the person behind you to survive stuff like that. He almost made it.
Yeah, but Piggy was
I know,
the
but he didn't
last
make
one.
it. It's just unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
So then all of a sudden there's a gross Australian handyman that like fixes stuff around Corey Haim's house and like hints at the fact that he's banging his mom, but I don't think he actually is.
One of those guys.
And then the dog follows him to school. The dog just instinctually knows where the school is and goes there. And it can type, but it can't type well, stupid dog. It types.
Well, to be fair, that was an old clunky
really
computer.
And this is like a theme that carries on into the sequel too, the dog picking up a pencil and typing on the computer. I'm really curious to find out if it's in 3 or 4, but I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm trying, but I don't know if I'm going to get there.
Oh, please update the listeners if you discover anything incredible in this series.
I will. So we cut back to the #Van Life guy and his, like, all the cops are there. The sheriff's pissed and all that stuff. Not trusting Michael Ironsides again. They really push this whole not trusting of Michael Ironsides thing by the sheriff for like what is obviously going to happen, but we'll get to that. Mm-hmm. The kids are there going to hassle the old man. They see all the cops and they take off just in time. Although if you look at the way that's cut, it looks like they drove right past Michael Ironsides' truck. Like they probably waved to each other and they were going like, "What's up?" It was just really poorly done, as was this whole movie. The kids all get murdered. Like we said, they're driving through the woods on their bikes and the monster's there. They're calling the poor fat kid
I really
Piggy.
do like to think these are kids. Yeah, I really do like to think that these are kids from a different story by Stephen King who just happened to wander into this storyline by accident.
Yeah, I like that too. It's basically Dean Koontz ripped off Stephen King for this, I think. He's just like, let's get a bunch of kids. It works for Stephen King. Let's do it here too.
Koontz King. Koontz
exactly.
Coon.
That sounds slightly racist.
Well, there was a Robot Chicken skit about like Dean Koontz stalking Stephen King and always like saying, I'm just like you, a little bit cheaper, a little bit slower, but I'm just like you.
That one. We
should do a collabo.
That's a very good point, though.
Pretty funny.
All right, so Haim's teacher and the school handyman get murdered. This is not a very gory movie. It's kind of got its moments. Like occasionally, like you see the aftermath of what the monster did. He likes to rip eyes out.
It's PG, but definitely not PG-13.
Is it literally PG?
In my mind, it is. Oh my God, Jaws is PG.
This is R.
Huh, that's weird. This is R, and Jaws was PG?
That is very strange. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
All right, so Haim's teacher and the school handyman get murdered, like I said. No blood, nothing like that. But the lady cop and the sheriff show up. The lady cop gets thrown down a flight of stairs in the boiler room and like gets electrocuted because cocaine, boats, electrocutions. That's what movies with action in them in the 80s loved. And this has it all in a really crappy package.
I'm not sure I remember the cocaine.
There's no cocaine in this one. I'm just saying that's like the one thing this is missing.
You're like, Maddie, Corey Haim thought he could talk to a dog. There was
That's
cocaine.
A good point. All right, so yeah, Lady Cop's dead, and Sheriff is pissed. Yeah, reasonably. Because he doesn't trust anything that's going on. His entire town's getting murdered. And he again is like, hey, Agent Ironside, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. I'm getting really mad at you. And Agent Ironside's like, hey, come with me. Let's go to this remote location and I'll tell you what's up. And we get a whole bunch of exposition about monks and telepathic monks talking to animals. And I can't remember if this is the point we learn about what's going on here. Basically, the dog is a dog that is really, really smart and telepathically linked to this monster. The idea is they send the dog into an enemy camp. The dog hangs out there, becomes cool with the enemy camp. There are a lot of flaws in this plan. And then the monster comes in later and just murders everybody. So this is like a new way to like fight wars or something. So Ironside,
which is kind of funny, considering at the time around Desert Storm time, right?
Yeah, right around then, maybe a little bit before.
Yeah, I mean, extreme Islamists, they probably wouldn't like dogs. I think they have a thing against dogs, so...
Yeah, well, they at least wouldn't like... I mean, you hear a noise out in the middle of wherever you're at in your hideout, you're going to shoot at it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Even if it is a charming golden retriever who can play Scrabble.
Exactly, because they don't know that. So Michael Ironsides murders this sheriff, and... I don't really understand why at this point, since he's kind of an untouchable agent, but he gouges the eyes out to frame the monster. I assume just so we see how evil Michael Ironside is, you know?
Which, again, you really don't need examples. We all know
exactly.
he's evil.
You've proved that repeatedly at this point. And they keep proving it later on, too. Mm-hmm. And then we cut back to the Australian guy telling Haim and his mom that the NSO came looking. So is this when they run? Yeah, this is when they decide to run. But then for some reason, I can't remember anymore. Like, they went out to the car. The monster went in the house, murdered the Australian guy. They go back in the house, see the Australian guy dead, run around the house. Corey Haim's got a gun now. They jump from the window over to a roof. The mom jumps down to go get the car. The dog tries to jump out but misses and falls to the ground. Corey Haim gets a couple of shots off because his dad taught him stuff because his dad is a deadbeat Delta Force dude. And they escape. Well, they don't escape. The mom, does she stay back now? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
No.
I watched it this morning.
No, they go to the vet, remember?
No.
All right. Well, I'll tell you about it then. So they go to the vet, and the vet snitches on them because they had apparently passed pictures of the dog, or like there's only one golden retriever in the world, and this is the one. So the vet calls Ironside and his partner about the dog being there, but Corey Haim luckily tailed the vet and heard this. So they take off, and after some pointless stuff, they meet at a cabin. And by pointless stuff, I mean the mom finds the kidnapped girlfriend because she gets kidnapped herself, because she's given Haim some time to get out of here. I think there was a hotel involved at this point.
Yeah, they went to a hotel with a dog, and
yeah, they went to...
Angry lady didn't like dogs.
The racial caricatures of what were like Eastern European people get murdered then by the monster too. Mm-hmm. They all have a big fight, and then they all end up at a cabin, and we find out that Ironside is the third experiment because he has no conscience, and he kills his partner.
Which is kind of funny if you think about it, because you don't have to do a genetic experiment to find a sociopath. You don't, and how is a sociopath more powerful than a telepathic dog or a werewolf?
I don't know. But he throws some dudes around. Like, he is pretty strong. I don't know if that was part of the experiment or what, because they don't explain it.
No, that's just the power of Michael Ironside.
That makes sense too. Mm-hmm, yeah. So at this point, Corey Haim almost blows up his mom with a pipe bomb. Which I get why. He didn't know they were going to be like, there's this whole scene with him buying like stuff to make traps and bombs and all this stuff, and the guy's like, "Are you old enough?" Blah blah blah. It's just stupid. It's a sort of montage. The closest we get to an actual montage is tense music plays while Corey Haim straps a boot knife to his leg. That's like the Rambo moment right there.
80s action, gotta have
So he fashions this cannon of rusty metal and like black powder or something and lights the wick right as they're driving up. And he would have got him had he not noticed his mom and girlfriend in the car and then threw it out of the way at the last minute. Although it would have been funny if that would have landed pointing at either him or somebody else innocent and went off and killed them anyways. So that's a movie I would have liked to see.
Yeah. Yeah, well, then it would have probably not been the right audience.
That's very true. So Haim and Ironside get into a fight during this whole thing after he kills his partner, and Corey Haim this is important. Corey Haim just straight stabs this dude in the neck, just right in the middle of his neck. And Ironside pulls it out, and he's walking towards him, and I think his mom shoots him with a shotgun, so Ironside's dead. Point is, no hesitation. Corey Haim was willing to just straight up stab a dude in the neck, okay, that's trying to kill him. That's very important because – sorry, I had a hiccup. At this point, they're fighting the monster now. The monster shows up, and Corey Haim's got him in his sights, but he hesitates. He doesn't kill the monster. All of a sudden he feels bad or something. So the monster attacks him, and we basically get a repeat of the fight we just saw, and then he shoots the monster. So it's another filler fight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the monster's dead, pick up the dog, get in the truck, drive off. There's no epilogue. That dog is definitely dead. There's no question in my mind. This entire thing we just went through was just so I could deliver that line, by the way.
I think I like that.
I mean, look at the dog fell out of a second-story window, got into a huge fight with this big monster thing that's been tearing people's eyes out, that is bred to hate him. Like, there's no way that dog made it. They were probably an hour away from the nearest vet.
Well, you started Watchers too. Was the dog not in it?
No, it's a different dog. It's a different monster. It's the guy from Beastmaster, and it's, like, slightly funnier. You know, like the dude from Beastmaster plays like a wisecracking military marine guy that has a problem with authority. Like the first time you see him, he's being driven to army prison by the military police. Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, but it opens with instead of a lab fire, the main lab guy in this one. This is not at all completely unrelated to the first one. The guy who runs the lab finds out his experiments are getting shut down or whatever, and he's got the monster hidden in the basement. So he hires all these animal rights activists to come free all the animals as a cover so he can get the monster out. But it all goes tits up, and the monster ends up escaping. So it's basically a retelling of the first one with slightly funnier dialogue, I guess. But like I said, I haven't finished it yet.
Okay.
Really made me want to watch Beastmaster, though. Mark Singer, that's the guy's name.
If you want to check out our blog, you can find us at Hallow-Holics or Hallow-Holic.blogspot.com or Hallow-Holic.wordpress.com.
You can tweet us at Nowhere23 or by searching the Twitterverse for Hallow-Holics.
You can also email us at Hallow-Holics@outlook.com.
The man with the hammer wants me to tell you to go to Podpedia and search our portal.
Oh, it's a hammer this time?
He's scaring me. He's just staring at me. Podpedia.what? Is it org?
Yes.
Okay, podpedia.org. Search for our portal, HHA. All right, he's gone now.
Oh. Okay, so it appears like your monkey is dragging your bed across the room now. Are you going to get up at all and fight this monkey?
No, I'm too tired. My dog ran away.
Oh, great. Now the music's starting. I got my mind set on you. I got my mind set on you. It's gonna take my
And
night.
we're demonetized. Not like we were monetized. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you. So, wait.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. This is the month of December now, as of this episode. Our next episode, which I'm going to try to get released in the first week, is the first gift week. Each week, I'm going to pick a movie Corey hasn't seen for him to review, and he's going to do the same for me. So, my first choice for Corey is a movie I know he's going to love. It's just a nice way to ease into the month without giving him anything that he might find unbearable, horrible, unwatchable. Just something really nice and gentle. I think it's maybe rated PG. And that's going to be Practical
Maddie wants
Magic.
me to watch a lady movie. And since I'm comfortable with my sexuality, I would gladly watch a lady movie, Maddie. Not saying I'll enjoy it. My gift to you is the Rob Zombie opus, one of my favorite Rob Zombie films that also has to do with witches. The Lords of Salem. I'm telling you, dude, give it a chance. I have no idea if you're actually going to like it, but give it a chance. I love it. I honestly love it.
Okay. I'll watch it. And if I don't love it,
Then you'll tell me. We can
you
argue.
suck. All right.
Thank you for
Good night,
listening.
guys.